folks. My name is Dave Flynn. I'm a product manager at Atlassian, and I'm the designated crowd expert for the next couple of days. So if you have any questions, I'm the person you should corner. This is just going to be a really quick overview around developing with crowd. It's focused on the very basics. There's nothing particularly revolutionary in this. If you've worked with crowd before, you can go to sleep for the next couple of minutes. If you haven't, you might find it useful. So what is crowd? Crowd is user management, single sign-on, and one of the most useful parts is consolidating multiple sources of users. Lots of companies have issues where half their employees are in one LDAP server, some from another acquisition are in a different server, and they have a whole bunch of partners or contractors that come in and never get added to LDAP, and they all need to access Jira and Confluence and Fisheye. And it's really painful to manage all of that. So they bring crowd in. And what tends to happen then is they bring crowd in for the Atlassian apps, and then they go, hang on, we can develop against this. And then they start to build internal apps on top of crowd as well. Because frankly, writing user management is boring. We've done it, it's boring. So yeah, there's two ways you can develop with crowd. The first is standard Atlassian plugins 2, just like every other Atlassian app. There's no, it all works in pretty much exactly the same way. The other side is connectors, and this is the stuff that's unique for crowd and is a little bit different. A connector runs in your app, not in crowd. So you could have like a PHP app that calls through to crowd to do user management, or Ruby, or whatever language you like. There's third-party language-specific libraries for most of the popular languages. And the rest of this is a really sort of overview of what those connectors are. The first thing, the reason this is up is I used to skip talking about how authentication actually happens in a web app, and then realize that a lot of people haven't really thought about it in depth, and this makes it easier. So the first thing that happens when you make a request to a web app, the browser goes off, tries to talk to the app. There's some sort of filter in front of it that does authentication. It basically checks if you're a logged in user. Usually that's done by a session cookie with an opaque string in there. You read the token out of the cookie and find some way to figure out if that's actually a real user. In this example, we're using crowd, so you call out to crowd and go, hey, somebody gave me this long string of garbage. Are they logged? Is it actually a real user? And if so, who are they? Crowd checks, goes back and goes, yep, that's Paul. You do your stuff in the app, and then you return. The other part to it is you regularly need to know who's actually in your app. Maybe you don't for a blog, but for something like Confluence, where you want to set restrictions on a page, or Jira, where you want to assign an issue to a user, you need someone to know who those users are. And that third part is the bit where crowd is really useful for a lot of people. And again, you can just delegate all the hard work to crowd and do a little bit of SOAP magic. SOAP has a little bit of a learning curve. If you've never worked with it, you're going to curse for a bit. But there is, we have Java libraries. There's Ruby, PHP, .NET, Perl, and various other ones I'm probably forgetting. So you can just pick it up and run with those. The SSO is, as I mentioned earlier, SSO is via session cookie. The two very basic operations you need to do something useful are log a user in, you call authenticate principal, you give it a username and a password, and it gives you either back a token that says, yep, this is valid for that user session. You stick it in a session cookie, and hey, they've got SSO across everything that's connected to crowd. And the other one, which gets called a lot, is the token valid. So someone tries to load a page in your app, and you read the cookie out, send it off to crowd, and go yes or no, and who are they? And one other thing that's coming up, Jira and Confluence currently have two totally different user management backends, and Crowd's a whole different story again. We are working on embedding Crowd into Jira and Confluence, which will give you a common internal API for working with users across Jira and Confluence, and it will give you much stronger abilities to write cross-product plugins that work exactly the same way in Jira and in Confluence. That's going to take a while to do because ripping and replacing user management, it means you touch almost every line of code in your app, but we've started, and hopefully we'll finish before next AtlasCamp. Thank you.